Literally the second I hit record, the leaf blower started, which would be a good segue into one of these books, The Daily Stoic and Accepting Your Fate. I'm like, what am I going to do? Go out there and tell the guy to stop because I'm trying to film a YouTube video that either 50 people will watch or for some reason thousands of people will watch? I don't know. I'm just playing the content lottery like an insane person sitting alone in my house. Talking about books that helped me quit drinking because I was sad and I was fat and I was addicted. I was. And I got over it. Kind of. It's every day. Every day I'm getting over it. Every day I wake up, I have to be like, don't drink. And then when I get to the end of the day, I'm like, you didn't drink. Good job. You did the thing that you're trying to do again. But before we start, bonus book. It is about sobriety. It is about drinking. It's also about a plant-based lifestyle, a midlife crisis, and ultra running. The first book, the bonus book, it is an audio-only version of Rich Roll's Finding Ultra. And I own this book. It's a funny story, actually, how I came across this book. Years before I decided to quit drinking, I wanted to get better. I was feeling like it lost my way. If I really tried to ride the waves of what's trending on the algorithm, I would probably title this video How I Unfucked My Life, because that's a thing right now. Maybe I'll make that video. Let me know if you want me to make a video about how I unfucked my life, because one, it's a work in progress. Two, I was, in my 20s, arrested more times than I could count, had a child with an alcoholic when I was 23. I was becoming an alcoholic, if not already one. I had to work through all that stuff. And now I live in the suburbs and I'm a filmmaker and have a beautiful family and a beautiful fiance. And my life is still hard. I still have to deal with the drudgery and the dread and the weirdness that is existence and have existential crises all the time, but I'm working through it. And I guess one could say I successfully unfucked my life. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about the books that I read that are not about drinking that helped me quit drinking. The first one, like I said, is Finding Ultra. Lawnmower is going away. I can go back to recording. My dog's like, am I going to bark right now? Are you going to, Chloe? Are you going to bark? No? All right, good girl. Years before I decided to quit drinking, I wanted to get better, like I was saying. I quit smoking, and the day after I quit smoking, I went to go for a run. I thought, let's just go around the block to start. Let's start small. I made it maybe one stretch of road and then turned, so a fourth of the way around the block, and then I had to stop. I was so severely out of breath, and I don't know why, but that prompted me to go inside. I actually know why I did this, because I'm a maniac, but I went inside, and I Googled, do people run 100 miles? Because I thought, I know people run marathons. Does anyone run 100 miles? Because I literally couldn't even run around the block. And then the first thing, or one of the first few things that popped up that was interesting, was the Rich Roll podcast. And then I learned about Rich's story, about being an athlete that ruined his career because of alcoholism. And then he became a corporate lawyer. He had this aha rock bottom moment walking upstairs to tuck in his daughter goodnight. He was in his 30s and he fell short of breath. Lawnmower's coming back. So Rich had this moment where he was out of breath just going up some stairs, and he thought, man, that's not good. And then he changed his diet. He went on this whole journey. I'm not going to ruin the book, but then he became one of the world's best ultra marathon runners and completed, I can't remember, I know he did Ultraman and finished very high up in that. And then he did some adventure where he circumnavigated all of the islands in Hawaii. If I'm getting that wrong, I'm sorry. But that book, I remember reading it and deciding I wanted to run more. And this is not a video about running, so just chill out. I decided I wanted to run more. And I thought a few things. I thought, I'm not going to ever stop eating meat. And I'm never going to get sober. Why would I do either one of those things? So I stayed away from any books about sobriety or nutrition, and I kept drinking and I kept eating whatever I wanted to. And then I started going deeper into the algorithm or the world of self-development. And that's where I came across these next books. Greg McKeown's Essentialism. I first heard Greg McKeown on a podcast with Matt D'Avella. And the one thing that I took away from this book that led me down a sober path was the concept of the vital few versus the trivial many. And there's a bunch of just like, I like really simple artwork. And there's a bunch of like very simple illustrations that shows the life model that he uses for essentialism. And basically the book is just about finding the few things in your life that really matter and putting almost all of your attention on those things because you only have so much attention to go around. And as I started to develop this like sober, curious mindset, started to like really like evaluate my relationship with alcohol, I was like, does it make sense that I keep taking precious moments away from me that I won't get back? And for a while, it did make sense because before I started to work on myself and to like heal my inner self and to, squash the inner critic, to take out the proverbial head trash, before I started doing all that stuff, alcohol helped me escape. But then as I started to develop like a stronger mindset, started doing meditations, I started to like really like, I went to therapy a couple of times, but I'm not like a practitioner on a regular basis of therapy. But as I started to like dive deeper into the world of self-help, the more I really started to value my time. Reading was a thing that I've always enjoyed. I've always bought a bunch of books and told people, well, I read all the time. I have books around so that way people think I'm smart, but I do read some books. But the truth of the matter is, on Saturday mornings, I wasn't reading a lot because I was hungover. So essentialism was really something that made me start to think about the importance of prioritizing the few things in your life that matter and really working on those things so you can make those things great. You can make the essential things in your life the most important things and the things that occupy all of your time, right? Because our time is limited and precious. It's a great book to help you prioritize your sobriety, your health, and your life. And it's not about drinking. On to the next book. The Daily Stoic. Speaking of waking up on Saturday mornings and reading a little bit, I do that a lot more now that I'm sober. And one of my favorite books to just grab in the morning is The Daily Stoic from Ryan Holiday. And the way that this book helped me quit drinking was the concept of accepting your fate. And also memento mori. We talked about essentialism and prioritizing the things in your life that matter and being like very aware of your death. And that's something that the Stoics talk about, like meditating on your mortality, accepting your fate, accepting the things that you cannot control and letting them go. And over time, I've started to learn that one of the things I cannot control, for better or worse, and I don't know if it was nature, nurture, a combination of both, but I'm a problematic drinker. Moderation is something that I can do, but the amount of discipline it requires to have 2 drinks and the amount of like inner turmoil that goes into like having a drink and then deciding to stop and like how many is enough and blah, blah, blah. It's like, whoa. I can't turn that off. And part of that is my fate. Like I said, nature, nurture, I don't know, probably a combination of both if I had to guess. But this book was one of those things that like really just helped me like accept that and move on. And really, focus on the things I can control. And if I want to live like a fruitful life where I'm reading and I'm thinking and like I value my brain and I'm using all my time alone in this house to like write stuff that helps to make like a net positive for the world, alcohol is only taken away from that. So on to the last book from Campbell Walker, aka Struthless. I think this book, Your Head is a Houseboat, I think this book came out after I'd already quit drinking. Campbell, or Struthless, has some of the best niche documentaries on his YouTube channel. And unfortunately, a lot of those don't get picked up in the algorithm the way they should because people would rather hear from him about self-help. And it's for good reason. He has a brilliant approach to working on healing your inner child. He has a brilliant approach to like organizing your life. One of his last videos was about how to unfuck your life. Like I said earlier, it's like that's the trend right now. But instead of just talking about all the things he did, he makes it about a system that he utilizes utilizes that you can utilize. And he does that brilliantly in this book. And the way that this book helped me quit drinking or to sustain sobriety without it being about alcohol was it talked about like all of the stuff. It talks about all the stuff that's going on in your head, right? Your head is a houseboat. It talks about like all of the voices in your head, the inner critic, the doubter, your self-esteem. And where do all these things come from? And it really is a very important, essential mental health book. Whenever I go through and revisit this, it's just like another tool that I add into the old toolbox for like my mental health and mental clarity on my road to being a better person on this journey of self-development. So these are the books: Your Head is a Houseboat by Campbell Walker, aka Struthless, Ryan Holiday's The Daily Stoic, Greg McKeown's Essentialism, and then the old Rich Roll. Rich Roll reads the book, so if you're a fan of his podcast, you will thoroughly enjoy the audio version of his book because, like I said, it's read by him. And thank you for being here. If you've been trying to quit drinking and you get like 4 to 5 weeks in and you start to relapse or you start to have these emotional struggles, I made a video about something called post-acute withdrawal syndrome. It's right here. I think that will help you get through deeper into sobriety. See you next time.